All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Wealthy Delivery Podcast. And today I'm excited because I got one of my brothers here today, my man, Rasheed Edwards. My guy is the man when it comes to we're cleaning out our closet today. We're uncovering some deep hidden stuff that we probably didn't know we had. So, Rasheed, I'm gonna let you go ahead and introduce yourself, man, and just let people know what you're about, brother.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you so much, brother, for having me on your show. So my name is Rasheid Edwards, and I am a clinical mental health counselor. I specialize in trauma, also a hypnotherapist and speaker, author, and life coach, transformation coach.
My man. So, a little bit of just how we connected, man. We haven't known each other very long, but I feel like it's been long enough, man. Just like, you know how it is. Like a few months can seem like a few years when you connect with the right people, and you're definitely one of those people, man. So, we connected at it was a virtual event, and you reached out to a couple people in the group and just, wanted to stay connected afterwards. And like, I'm glad you did, man. I really appreciate that because a big thing of just like being around people with the right mindset is, you don't get to have the conversations you really want to have in your everyday life with people that are necessarily close to you, whether it be like family and friends. But like what we talk about in our mastermind and our group, on Saturdays is like, it's such a refreshing conversation, man. And it's like, those are, as Black men, I feel like those are the conversations all Black men should be having with their friends. Unfortunately, that's not happening. So like a meeting with a group like we do every Saturday is pretty dope, man. So big shout out to you for taking the initiative and just reaching out. So I appreciate that, man, for sure.
Man, I appreciate you being a part of it, man, because that's the whole point, though, right? Is that we all get to collectively kind of give something to the pot. And it's just like that analogy of the circle. You might be on one point of the circle and I might be, 180 degrees across from you, but we got each other's back. Because we can see, each other's back. So
for sure, man. And like I appreciate that so much, man. Like I can't even express it enough, man. Like I look so forward to those calls, man, because it's like afterwards I'm like, all right, let's go get it. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a confidence booster and just like, no, we're all in it together.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, man, what is it? Is it over 15? You got your MA in clinical health, mental health counseling, which mental health is definitely a big thing I've focused on in the last couple years just for myself. After becoming a dad, just really paying attention to what goes in my brain, how I treat my brain, and what information I take into my brain. So why don't you like tell us a little bit exactly like what trauma is? Because I think a lot of people, especially in the Black community, just deal with it, or I don't even say deal with it, just have it and don't even realize they have it. So what exactly is trauma?
So I'll give it to you like in a story. All right. So trauma is when you have been pushed beyond your acceptable thresholds for intense experiences. But to give trauma, kind of like to give it some more context, about 15 or so years ago, we went to a fair in Atlanta back when Turner Field was there. They used to do a fair at Turner Field during the off season. Mm-hmm. And my son and I got on this, whatever the thing is called, where it flips, goes into the circles or whatever. But we weren't properly strapped in. And so when the thing started, I looked over at him and he wasn't in. I thought it was a little loose on me, but he wasn't properly strapped in, and it started going. And all of a sudden he started slipping, so I had to grab him and hold on to him for dear life throughout this whole ride. And like when it was over, I was sick, right? He probably was sick too, so I started having these dreams afterwards, these dreams of death, somebody trying to kill me, all this type of stuff. And I used to be a person that could go to Six Flags and sit in the front of the Scream Machine, the Mind Bender, all of this stuff. I haven't been able to go on a ride since. I mean, literally, I can't even get on the mine train.
So even to this day, you still.
To this day, and I have worked on the trauma, but I haven't worked on it within the context of dealing with the rides. So the point is that that's how it affected me, and that was traumatic because that pushed my levels. So a lot of times people think it's a specific type of thing that has to happen, like you got to go to war, you got to witness somebody being killed or somebody trying to kill you, but that's not really what it is. It's whatever your acceptable thresholds for dealing with intense, situations. When they get exceeded, you get pushed into trauma, and then that could eventually parlay itself into PTSD. So,
how old was your son at the time?
He was about 10 years old.
Oh yeah, so
yeah, it was, man. And my wife, she cracked on me like, we can't go to Six Flags because you think.
Of course,
Real tough. That was a tough one.
And I think, I don't know, man. Just being Black in America, we experience a lot of traumatizing things that we just like deal with. Like, that's built up like this callus of like we almost become like numb to it. You know what I'm saying?
Brother.
And how common is it that you see people dealing with trauma but don't even recognize it?
So think about it like this, right? The things that we experience in the Black community. So some of the major indicators of trauma are things like death, neglect, abandonment, those types of things, right? So think about how many people we know grew up in situations where maybe they didn't have both parents at home, and so they kind of had to grow up on their own and get it on their own. Yeah. So now you got some level of neglect that probably certain things happen. Think about all the friends you got who have witnessed or been around something that was like a near death or seen somebody killed or murdered, those types of things. Those probably push certain people. And again, everybody's levels are different, right? But these are just some of the things that you could think about right away that probably cause trauma, where somebody may have witnessed somebody get stomped out or almost beat to death, or somebody gets shot at, somebody break into somebody's home. And I'd have been through like, I've seen almost or witnessed to some degree just about everything that I just said to you. So these are the things, man, that they are a toxic soup. So when you think about the things that we deal with in the Black community, not having enough to eat, not having enough, not having our lights on at different times, the abuse or neglect type things, those have, been rampant in the Black community, but we've normalized it. And to some degree, even some of us have developed a level of resilience where we're a little bit tougher when it comes to those things. But these are definitely things that typically can be traumatizing.
I think that's big, man. And it sounds very, mental, obviously. Like, it's a very mental thing. And how, I think a lot of people try to cover up that mental weakness with physical strength. Like how often do you see that? I feel like that's a big thing because especially as men, like we taught to be tough, we taught to not cry, brush it off, and like after becoming a dad, man, like I remember I could watch a movie and it could be like a very emotional movie. And like I was like, I won't say I won't feel anything, but I just be like, well, it's acting. Like they're actors. But now like I watch a movie, man, and like I almost come to tears of like just because like I'm so, and it could be just with age. I've experienced a lot more, but I think having my son, man, just made me very much more of an emotional. Well, I've always been emotional, but like willing to show that emotion a little bit more.
Right.
So
because and I could see that with you because you want to give your son balance. Growing up, man, I like I bear witness to this. Like I had it bad. So I always tell my friends this story about how my cousin from New York taught me how to box. He used to basically beat me up until I learned basically how to handle myself enough where my hand speed got just as quick as his. And I learned how to box. Now, I was into martial arts when I grew up. So long story short, anyway, I had an experience, man, where I got jumped. Not really jumped, I got attacked coming out of the store when I was young. I was probably about 15 or something like that. And two people, I was coming out with money in my hand, counting my money, coming out the gas station, counting my money. They jumped me. Well, one of them like hit me side of the head. The other person like grabbed my money or whatever. They kind of pushed me to the ground and ran off somewhere. So even though that don't sound like a big thing, right? That was the first time I had that type of experience.
Yeah.
So my adrenaline was through the roof. I felt like I had been violated. And so when I collected myself and I calmed down, even talk about it now, I can kind of feel it, right? But when I collected myself, it was like, man, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And so that led me to just becoming like, now I wanted to make my body a weapon. So like I started having more fights in school. I started proving that if you try me, you're going to have some problems.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the thing that we do, right? Like you really got to prove yourself so that people, it's kind of like your way of controlling the situation. If you step out front and show that you're not weak, then nobody's going to bother you. And so that became a thing like throughout high school, even middle school. I was already doing that type of stuff. But in high school, I was trying to knock dudes out. Like everywhere I went, I was trying to get that rep, like the tough guy. And I'm not a tough guy. You know what I'm saying? Like in my heart, I'm not a tough guy at all, but I felt like I had to do these things. And I know so many other Black men who have just been in these places where they feel like they got to perform, like they got to show they ain't weak, they not soft or whatever. And it's time out for that, man.
I think becoming a dad is a big life-changing event.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I've always been authentic in who I really am. Like I wasn't never a person, thanks to my dad, because my dad was always like very confident in himself and like really didn't let people persuade his opinion. Like if he liked something, he liked it. He didn't care if anybody else liked it. And that definitely trickled down to me. Like I was never one to like try to impress my friends or like, if I mess with something, I mess with it. If they don't, hey, you ain't got to worry about it. So I never really like put on a show or like a fake front, but I feel like I still was holding back a part of me that wasn't really showing the world who I really am. And after I became a dad, I was like, I can't do that anymore. I can't afford to not be who I really am at my son's expense. Like, cause he has to know, if nobody knows who I really am, he will know who I really am. Right. So if I have to do that at the world's expense of seeing, so be it. But like, it's just like, it just becomes a whole different character. So it's like, yeah, I gotta show those emotions. I'm not a tough guy. Like I'm not, but don't mess with me. Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not this tough guy who's trying to beat up on everybody or anything like that. Like, but it comes to mine. I'm gonna protect mine at all costs. But yeah, I think we put on the show. And for me, like I said, for me having a kid is just like, I'm not trying to put on a show for nobody. I'm just trying to be the best person I can be so I can connect with my son. And I think that's big, especially for Black fathers, man. It's hard to kind of, we deal with so much from the outside world, stuff be thrown at us every day, and it's like, who am I for real? Yep. And I think connecting with guys like you, doing things like this, is just really kind of, I feel at home when I do these things. Like I really feel like myself. That's why I even like recording this podcast. Like I like, being able to have a conversation with some people I admire and respect that I know I can have a great conversation with, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I think
it's it took me to go all the way through college, man, before I did what I considered to be answering the call, which was accepting who I really was and like stepping into my real power. So that's when I actually answered the call and I said, I'm gonna stop trying to do all of this stuff and not be me. And like you said, man, doing it for our children because they deserve the fullest expression of us and who we are so that they can have life and have that abundance. We talk about abundance, man. Abundance isn't just the good, it's the bad. Like it's the total breadth of everything that's possible. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And so now I had a whole corporate career before I decided to become a therapist. Now I was kind of dabbling, I was doing life coaching for about 14 years. So I was doing some of the work that was in me. And that's kind of like the thing that this has always been in me, but I decided to take it full circle and get a degree in clinical mental health counseling and actually take it all the way. And now I'm able to express a lot of the things that are in me that I never had the opportunity to some degree.
Yeah. Are you a big meditator?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What are some techniques you use for like meditation? And how often do you do it?
I don't do it as much as I used to. I probably meditate about once a week now, but I'm starting to get back to my meditation. One of the simplest ways to meditate, I tell people, is just to pay attention to your breath and to try to extend your breath. So what I mean by that is like doing deep breathing and paying attention to the breath. So at one point in my meditating, I could take I was up to about a 20-second inhale and a 20-second exhale. Like I was able to extend my breath that far. I had to stop doing that because I realized that I was getting lightheaded and that might have, contributed to some of those experiences. But extended that breath to maybe 4, 5, 6 seconds or so on the inhale and then on the exhale is good because as you're paying attention to your breath, you're not able to pay attention to thoughts. So that alleviates the thinking. Then secondly, scanning your body as you're breathing. Once you get that rhythm with the extended breath, then pay attention to your body and just allow your awareness to go to different parts of your body. And if you feel tension or stress, on the exhale, allow the stress and the tension to release because that's where the relaxation comes in on the exhale. So on that exhale, as you pay attention, you find stress anywhere, just allow it to release. And if you do that for 15, 20 minutes a day, like the returns are going to be massive.
Yeah, I mean, I'll second that because I mean, I am a meditator. Like I discovered meditation once I really started like I said, paying attention to I read I think it was The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. I read that and it just really completely changed like how I looked at the world and especially what I put in my brain. So that led me to all right, what is the brain exercise or brain health thing I can do? Discovered meditation. So that was about 3 years ago. And I pretty much meditate every day, since then. I tried all different kinds of meditation, but the one that's really worked for me was Wim Hof. You ever heard of that?
Wim Hof? Describe it.
It's it's this dude. The dude's name is Wim Hof. He's like the Iceman. He'll meditate and go 20 minutes in freezing ice or something, ice cold water.
Okay.
But it's kind of you take these big breaths in, and after a while, I think after 20 or 30 breaths or whatever you can hold or handle, you exhale and then you hold the exhale, and then you don't let any air in. Some people do it for 2 minutes. I kind of just see how I'm feeling that day. I usually like to do it after I do cardio, but yeah, so I'll be and then just on the last exhale, I just hold it, and then I'm just in that moment, just you know what I'm saying? And that was the first time that method is when I actually felt something, I was like, oh shit, this is meditation. Like this is it. And like the way I understood it is like breathing and thinking are two of the things you do consciously and unconsciously. So if I can control the way I breathe, I can control the way I think. Like that's what made me understand it. So it's like every time I was like, all right, pay attention to my breathing, like you said. And then when I go into that exhale, I let my brain do what my brain does. And like I would just notice my days will be, I can compare my days to like the days versus when I meditated versus the days I didn't. The days I do, usually my day turns out a lot better. My decision making is a lot better. And so meditation was a very big thing. And let me nerd out for a second. I was a big Dragon Ball Z fan.
Okay.
So but I realized like as a kid, you like all the power up and the colors and the cool hair and the strong muscles. But like when I watched it as an adult, I was like, oh, these cats is meditating. Like that's meditation. Talking about meditation.
All that stuff.
Yeah, so it's like it just completely made me look. I was like, wow. And so it like you said, certain things that are in you. And like you said, you find your calling. Like for me, it was writing. Like I didn't realize it was writing, but I've been a good writer my whole life. Like from a scholastic standpoint.
Right.
Like I always got good grades in writing. Like my teachers always pushed me to write. But like, and I just finished my book Nepotism for Dinner, and I talk about how like, why didn't any of my teachers tell me to write a book? You know what I mean? Like I could have wrote like 15 books by now. You know what I'm saying? But that's a whole school system, education, entrepreneur thing I don't want to get into. But I talk about that in the book. So like, yeah, man. When I meditate, my mind is more clear. I can write I can get out my emotions and my thoughts into, onto paper a little bit easier, man. So I think that's, mental health, man. It's a huge thing that we don't talk about enough. And, but I feel like our community is just thanks to the internet and, where things are now. Like, I feel like we're becoming more aware of like paying attention to our mental health in the Black community. So,
yeah, we are. I want to take a step back to the meditating thing, though, right? Because I be nerdy about stuff too. So, like, literally, we got different brainwave frequencies that we experience and exhibit throughout our day. Your waking state is considered to be a beta brainwave frequency. So the waves are kind of like, they're real fast and condensed. But when you start to meditate, you slow down to somewhere between the alpha and the theta. And so the waves are elongated and they're slower.
Yeah. And
that is what makes it more conducive to learning and assimilating information when you get into those types of states, which are like trance states. Yeah. So like,
it's like being in REM sleep. Before I got into entrepreneurial life, I was a sleep technician. So like I ran sleep studies. So like we're literally watching people's brain waves.
Right.
Like, so at certain stages, like you'll see the beta waves or you see the alpha waves, like closer to REM. So that makes a lot of sense what you're saying right there. Like,
yeah.
So, that's powerful, man. That's really, but yeah, like people aren't gonna go nerd out and learn that kind of stuff though. Guys like us will, but no, right. It's like you got to really pay attention to those things, man.
That's what I tell people to slow down. Like sometimes just slow down.
Yeah.
Stop allowing circumstances to pull you in every direction. Slow down and just be still for a minute. And in that stillness, sometimes you can get answers. You can be open to receive, and you never know what may come to you.
I think that's the big thing.
Just an extension of that.
Yeah, you gotta be open. Yeah, you said something. You gotta be open, man. Because and just like you said, like the same stuff that lets in the good or lets in the bad also lets in the good. So you got to be open to receive, all that, and then it's up to you to decipher. Like, all right, this is good information. This is how I use this. All right, this is bad information. I need to do away with that. Or you know what I'm saying. So I think that's being open is a big thing, man.
Yeah.
I seen you. You wrote a book. Was it? I had the name of it here. Because I want to grab it. I think it's in my Amazon. Card.
I got like three books.
I think this one came out in like 2015 14, 15. You remember
The
what? Well,
secret- let's see.
go ahead.
Probably The Secret Commitment. Yeah.
I think whatever the one you talked about, the 7 keys to goal achievement and transformation.
The Secret Commitment. Yep.
Okay.
The keys to goal achievement and transformation. That's it.
I don't want all the keys because I want to read the book. I'm gonna add it to my stack here. But if you're willing, can you give me the first 3? I would like to know the first 3.
So the first 3 are what I call the first 3? The first 3 or 4 is what I call
whatever you want, however you want to give. Don't give me all of them. Just the first 3 or 4. I'll take those.
All right, so I'm gonna break it down to you the way I put the book together, right? So the first 3 keys are the first 4 keys are what I call the developmental keys. So the first 4 keys, I'll just tell you what they are: vision, belief, purpose, and passion.
Okay.
All right, so I call those the developmental keys because those are kind of like the kernels of whatever it is that anything that you want to move or shift into that direction of, you have to have those 4 kernels available. You have to have a vision. So everything starts with a vision. And vision is not what you see with your mind's eye, with your physical eyes, but what you see with your mind's eye, because vision creates the possibility for you. So as we know in scriptures, it says our people perish for the lack of, where there's a lack of, not knowledge. But the lack of vision causes death. So at any rate, so you have to start with a vision, all right? From there, like I said, belief, purpose, and passion. Belief oftentimes is kind of taken out of proper context. So belief isn't just subscribing to a particular idea, but belief is also creating, like back in high school, what we called in math, a solution set. Belief creates something like a placeholder. So once you believe in something, not only do you have the subscription to it, but you have a placeholder for it. And so belief is also one of those things that sets the foundation for possibility, because once you have that belief, you have a placeholder for it, and now it exists in your realm. And so people often think that believing is seeing is believing, but in actuality, believing is seeing, because you don't see things until you have a set for it. You know what I'm saying? Just like,
so it's kind of like this, like the principles you live by in life.
Yeah, absolutely. So those 2, but so that was like one of this book is really my favorite book that I've written, because it took me like, I tell people it took like a couple years, but what happened was when I first tried to write it, I couldn't write it. I had all these types of blocks, life changes and stuff going on. And then when I came back to it a couple years later, I wrote the book in like 4 days. Like I just had to download, just boom. And I mean, literally all of the content came at one time.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I know that feeling, man. Because I struggled with that this last book. I literally just, while everybody was watching the Super Bowl, I was submitting my book to Amazon. So, and again, I got the email this morning like, yo, it's ready to print.
Yeah.
So, I like the last chapter, man, I sat on it for like a while. Like I was just, and like I was, which maybe I was excited to talk to you. Like, man, am I experiencing some trauma writing this book? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why can't I finish this book? Like, what's wrong with me? And like, so what I had to do, I had to go back and just read those what I've written already. And then after like I did that, I was like, oh yeah, this is fire. So it helped me wrap up that last chapter. Yeah. Now flipping on like the writing end. Now I take it you read a lot.
Yeah. Nowadays I don't read as much as I used to. I got my mental health niche, and that's kind of my lane, as I've dubbed it now. But
once you find your lane too, though, it's like there's so many books and knowledge you can get from just that one particular subject.
Yeah.
What was there a book specifically that kind of made you start reading again? Cause I'd say for me, like after college and like high school, it was just like a point where I just wasn't like reading like that. So it was when I picked up, I think I was like 26 when I picked up the book Relentless by Tim Grover, and where he was the dude who trained Michael Jordan and like Kobe and Dwayne Wade, and he was just talking about like their work ethic and how they were just like different from everybody else. That really got me into like reading. And then when I picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad, I was like, yo, I'm reading everything I can get my hands on. So that just made me read. Like I became a sucker for it again. Like I love it.
Yeah. And I think it happened like that, kind of like it happened in stages for me. Always been, an avid reader. One of the single books that made one of the biggest impacts on me in college was this book called African Holistic Health. And that totally just caused a complete mindset shift in me. So after African Holistic Health, a few years later, maybe after college, after undergrad, I got a copy of Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice by Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. Okay. And like, I went to school with his daughter, and he actually came to my high school and talked to us. And that was one of those pivotal moments when I found out I wanted to be a speaker, watching him. But I didn't know he had, so I'd already read Think and Grow Rich.
Right.
And then when I saw his book, I was like, oh man, I played ball with his, like, you know how you got the varsity girls and boys, like his daughter was on the varsity team when I was on varsity. So I was like, wow, he wrote a book. And then that probably planted the seed for me there. And then, you know, a few years later, Kiyosaki, that was another one that kind of kicked it off.
I think Think and Grow Rich, and books, and what even made me want to start writing books, man, because I write every book with the envision of like my son reading them, like whatever age, like if he's my age or, you know, even younger, because he just picks up things and he loves books. So like if I'm making these books, he's on the cover, he's just automatically going to gravitate towards them. But books like Think and Grow Rich, you know, Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think it's important that you said, like, you know, with the guy that wrote that, you know, with the black person in mind, because I don't think those books are necessarily written with black people in mind. Not saying they're purposely not, but it's just like, you know, it's hard for us to see ourselves in that light with, you know, a white guy on the cover, you know what I'm saying? Or so it's like, I thought in school I was always like I tutored my classmates, I tutored like some of my basketball teammates, just because I picked up information. I was a good student, and I always used to wonder, like, what was the gap or what was the missing link between the students and the teachers? Like, I got the information, why don't the other students like understand it? But like, I was always that link that helped the students understand it. So I was always curious about like, what was that thing? So I look at the same thing with entrepreneurship and financial freedom. Like, I'll read these books, I'm like, man, y'all not reading this? Like, they're giving away the recipe right here in these books. So I was like, I know I may have a friend that may not go read Think and Grow Rich. But if I read Think and Grow Rich and kind of write my own version of Think and Grow Rich, they'll go read that. And they'll still get those principles because they'll take that information from me versus taking it from some, you know, white dude that they never heard of. And that just really made me realize I had a calling for writing books, you know what I mean? So, man, I think so. Seeing people that look like us do things that really kind of push the realm of what we normally see is pretty important, man.
What type of, I'm just curious, like what type of feedback do you get from your readers, like when they talk about your books?
Well, since it's my second one, the first one, An Hour Play Keeps the 9 to 5 Away, which that book was more like, I think the first book was always the hardest. It was just me putting down what I really want out of life, like what was important to me. And I mean, people praise it, man. I don't like to toot my own horn. That's my only problem. Like I really don't like, cause like I just like, yo, I'm just doing it. It's whatever. But like people really enjoy it. So I have people, I'll tell you what, I have sold, I think I only sold like 50 copies of my first book, like that first year. with no real like promotion or anything like that. I was just like, I wrote it because I didn't write it. I didn't even after I wrote it, I didn't look at myself as an author. I was just like, I'm learning all this valuable information. I want to leave this information back for my son just in case something happens to me. But now, like when I went into this one, I was like, yo, I'm an author for real. And so I've sold 50 copies of this book before it was even completed. Like people are already, anticipating. So, it's just like, I think this one's really going to crack their heads, man. Cause I dive deep into like the effects of slavery and just like, growing up Black in America pretty much. And really going against some taboos. And I think there's some principles that like pretty much I cover 5 principles that I think every Black family should live by. And, are centered around nepotism, man. Cause we're so divided as Black people. And it's not our own fault. I mean, some of it is our fault, but like America's game plan from jump was to divide the Black family. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, it's up to us to rebuild that structure. And that's why I even appreciate like what we do on our calls. Like we got to build this community of Black people really just coming together. And cause we can go further if we go together, man. We can go fast if we go alone, but if you want to go far, you got to go with some people.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
So like, and it's like they teach you, don't do business with family, don't do it, but like, nah, we gotta learn how to be better as a family, no matter how tough it may be. But there's certain principles. If we start with these set of principles, we'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? We'll have some bumps and bruises along the way, but we're gonna have some bumps and bruises anyway. So, that's kind of my forte on that one, man. Actually, I'll get you out a copy, man, because I really, and this one's not that long. My first book was like 16 chapters. This one's like 7. So I really try to go straight towards the point.
Yeah.
If you could turn back time, man, to the 18-year-old Rasheed, what would you tell him, man? What conversation would you have with that man?
I would probably tell him, man, just get better at being you, because you are more than enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The best you. And I grew up in a household. My father was a Virgo, so he's a perfectionist. And so my dad was always he was buying me books and stuff. Like he fed the beast. So like I was reading Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, the list goes on. I mean, I was aware of Dr. Sabian, Dr. Africa, and these natural healers years ago, and I was doing all of this different stuff. So I've always had a connection to that part of me. It just was something that I hid and I kept away from people. I just wanted to show up and look normal, so-called normal, like everybody else. And now,
which is probably the worst thing you probably can do, honestly, if you really think.
Suppress my light. Yeah. So I would say, man, get real good at being you, because that's what's gonna save you, and that's what's gonna, it's gonna carry you over. So
I like that, man. I like that a lot. Think about the world we live in, man. Just being you is so important. What do you think is, if you had one tip for like making the world just a better place, what would that be?
Man, doing the inner work. Like, we got all these cliches, right? But success really is an inner game. So I'm big on the book, The Kabbalion, and the law of correspondence says that as above, so below, as within, so without. And so it's the secret is teaching all about, having the vibration and all of that stuff. But it's really telling you, create whatever it is inside first. And once you've lived it inside, the law of correspondence is going to carry it over for you into the physical world.
Yeah.
But this inner world that we have is the most important world that we have, because that's our point of creation. That's our point of power. And so once you start to create within, that's when you'll start to see it without.
You spitting, man. You spitting some facts right there. It's real talk, man. I think it's a very internal thing, which goes back to why mental health is so important, man, because it starts on the inside, man. You can't change all this stuff on the outside world and just still be dealing with all these, untapped emotions and confusion in the inside, man. So mental health is it starts with mental health,
Going back to that book, The Kabbalion, one of the first principles in it, it says the all is mental. And that's really, when they, like Buddhism and all these different philosophies, when they talk about we live in what's considered to be an illusion or an illusory world, like the all is mental. Like we live in the world that we create. So for instance, the world that we interact with is a world that is created by way of our five senses: sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing. But we have to perceive it, send it to our brain to interpret it, to make it be what we call the world. But really, it's what happens inside us that allows us to project that onto the screen of our minds to say, this is where we are and what we're experiencing. So again, the all is mental. We're in a mental universe, but we're having, because the sense of sight and our senses are so strong that we rely on our senses. But if we start to do this inner work and work on that part of us that's inside, like we'll have a much better and different experience. Like you say with meditating, that's going within.
Right. No, that's real. All right. So let's say you got a dream project, man. You got all the resources you need. You got connections to all the people you need to connect to. What would this dream project be, man? It's like, yo, we gonna make a Rasheed Edwards statue for this one, man. You're going in the Hall of Fame for this. What would that project be? No holds barred, man. You got everything you need.
The dream project would be to help people in our community. Start out with our community. Help people overcome trauma. Because a lot of us are dealing and stuck in trauma, and we have no idea that we are. Trauma creates this sense of being stuck. So for instance, people who have been traumatized, like we talked earlier, I was saying, like a lot of times men, what they do is they start to act in but they start to act in ways that they're really exhibiting what we would say is risky behavior, but they just really trying to manage, or they trying to control the trauma, which they can't. So for instance, I might be trying to control trauma because maybe I'm having flashbacks or nightmares. The flashbacks might come out of nowhere, and then I feel like I'm right back there. But if I jump on this motorcycle and drive, 120 miles per hour on the expressway or whatever, losing my mind, now I have pushed my thresholds again. And now I feel like I have some control because now I'm doing something that pushes me to the edge versus the experience or the re-experience. And so my point is that a lot of us are experiencing trauma and we don't know what to do or how to deal with it. And I got some very simple skills that I help people do that within a short period of time, they get a grip on their trauma and then they start to do things that allow them to heal. A lot of people don't even know that they can overcome their trauma. Because a lot of times, you go to different practitioners and they'll tell you, well, you just need to cope with it. Nah. As Deepak Chopra said, inherent in the problem is the solution. So just like every coin has a head and a tail, one side is the problem, one side is the solution. You don't have a problem without a solution. It don't work that way.
Right.
So you don't have to live with this. You just have to get the proper help. And so that would be my dream project. Because if we can get our community to be able to do things that are more functional, like I had a whole program that I want to do working with the youth to teach them how to think in a way that creates wealth for them. I don't know if you've ever read the book, One Simple Idea, right? That's one of my favorite books. and it teaches people how people came up with these different inventions and things. And basically, for lack of a better term, they had masterminds, or what they call focus groups, where they use one central idea and everybody contributed to it. So laser tag came from asking people, how do we revolutionize the old game of tag when we were children to bring it into the 21st century? So my whole point is that once we can get out of that stuck mindset, we can get into the fruits of our minds, and we can learn how to turn whatever it is that's been deposited in us by the creator or the universe and be able to use it for our own benefit and for the benefit of mankind. So that would be the project.
That's big, because one of my principles is like, everybody must have a way to generate ideas. And I think that's the thing. Like, it's not enough just purposely trying to think of a way or trying to think outside the box. And that's, even as a dad, that's one of the things I push to my son now. Like, I'm always asking him, even at 3 years old, like, well, why do you think that? Why do you know? I'm wanting him to keep that creativity and always be thinking. So yeah, man, I didn't know that about laser tag, but it makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you see it with like the entrepreneurs, you see it with the Elon Musks and the Jeff Bezos of the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people out here taking an idea and acting on it, and like, they just take the same structure to make an idea come to life, but the way to generate that idea comes from all different places. So having a system to consistently generate ideas and put those ideas into action is key.
Yes, indeed.
I feel like every human or every person has a superpower. What would you say your superpower is?
I was thinking about this the other day. That's a toughie. Because it's gonna cause me to get a little weird on that. But I think my superpower is traversing different places in my mind. The ability to go different places in my mind. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, I'll take that. Now, speaking of like a superhero power, if you could have one, how would you use it? What would it be, and how would you use it?
To be able to manipulate energy. For some reason, like that would have been my second superpower, but I'm not super at it. but yeah, I'm a huge martial arts fan, and I don't know if you've ever seen Jet Li's Tai Chi Master.
No, I've seen that one. I love me some martial arts too.
Somewhere close to the end of the thing, right? He's doing this kata, and he's out in this field, and he's doing this kata, and essentially what he's doing is he's using his chi energy, and he has lifted the grass on the ground, and he's causing it to spin in this revolution around his body. So he's going through this kata, and he's doing all of this, and at the end of it, he brings it to perfect peace. So he raised it, and then he brings it down, and he ends his kata. And that's like,
like, you probably like, every time you see that part, you like, oh, that's it right there. That's it.
That spoke to a different place in me. You know what I'm saying?
I know that feeling, man. Because I'll tell you, for me, it was when I watched Doctor Strange. And like, before it was like something probably like flying or like super speed. I think those are pretty cool. But this dude was like, he was sleeping, but his conscience was like still reading these books and studying. I was like, oh, that's dope. You know how much, like, if I could read while I was sleeping, like, you know how much information I could like just wake up and implement? Like, so ever since I saw that, I've been in love with that, man. And like, so every time I see him, I'm just like, man, that's the move right there. That's the move.
It's the astral projecting, man.
Got one more question for you, man. This might be a tough one for you too, man. But I really like to ask this of all my people, man, all my guests.
All right.
If you could have dinner with any 4 people, dead or alive, what would it be? And you probably have a different answer each day of the week.
Okay.
But what are you feeling like today?
So, one of those people is Dr. Laila Africa. He was a big, he caused a big mental shift in me. And so I always, I regret that I never had the chance to meet him while he was alive. He just passed this past year, 2020. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Africa is one. I used to sing too, right? So one of my favorite artists was Donny Hathaway. And so I would like to, I've always wanted to just talk to him to see if I could connect with what brought his lows so low and his highs so high. You know what I'm saying? Because I think his singing and that stuff was a reflection of his mindset too.
Right.
So Donny Hathaway, Malcolm X, and we'll say Dr. Khalid Muhammad, even though I did meet him. I guess I can't use somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, it could be family member, whatever. But I think that's the song. The interesting thing, like I think the last few people I've asked, Malcolm X has been on the list, like almost like 3 or 4 to 5 times that I've asked somebody that. So Malcolm is always, I love Malcolm X. My 4 has been pretty consistent for probably the last year or two, man. Kobe, because I learned so much from, I'm a big basketball guy, so I learned so much from Kobe after he retired. Like I was already a fan when he played, but after, that's why like even his passing is still just, I still can't really wrap my head around it. But like I would watch his documentaries, and he was such a great storyteller. But more, he gave you like the way to do it. More like, Michael, it was like, it was a pure domination from a fan standpoint. And like, but I feel like the only person that shared Michael's secrets, or the person that Michael shared secrets with, was Kobe. Okay. But Kobe was like, had a lot of effect on a lot of people in the NBA. But also around the time I started getting into entrepreneurship, he started appearing on a lot of these entrepreneurship podcasts. And,
is that right?
Yeah. So like he was on like Lewis Howe, so a few other people. But yeah, he started. So he was just always appearing like in places I was learning. So you got to see that basketball mindset trickle into like just everyday parts of life. So I just turned me into like the hugest Kobe fan, because I feel like he just gave me a blueprint.
Okay.
Nipsey Hussle was another one. Just a guy who was. I actually knew his interviews before I knew his music. Like, 'cause he was just always spitting some real stuff in his interviews. Bruce Lee. I'm a huge Bruce Lee guy. I'm probably gonna watch some Enter the Dragon or Chinese Connection after we get off here today. That might be I like to put on some movies while I'm editing videos, and that might be the move. And then Muhammad Ali, man. Like, I just I like a good
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad, man, just like I like that energy. I like people who talk their mess and back it up, and then just from just a mental and just people and the way the movement of the black man in America, and really just standing out for what he believed in. Even being a part of the Nation of Islam. It's just like Muhammad was my guy, man. So I try to really embody those 4. That's like my Mount Rushmore of people, man. That's like I really try to embody those people when I go about any task that I do. So yeah, man. But nonetheless, man, I appreciate you coming rocking with me, man. I want you to tell the people, man, where they can go find out more about you, man.
Listen, you can go to mentalinfinity.com. That's one of my websites. You can also catch me on Facebook at RasheedEdwards.com. That's RASHEID Edwards. Facebook.com/Rasheed Edwards. And I think, you can Google me. I got a lot of content out there.
Google my guy.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff out there.
Hey, man. I love it, man. No, but like I said, man, I appreciate you coming out here rocking with me, man. This platform, man, I just really bring on people that I just respect and admire in one, way or another. You know what I'm saying? And it just gives me a chance to connect with people and even just get to know deeper into people that I already know. Right. So anytime you want to come up here, man, like I said, it's open door anytime. Like if you feel like you just want to come up here and talk some shit, it's open table, man. Cause like my platform is your platform, man. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, man.
Hey man, listen, I appreciate you having me. So don't tell me I can come talk my shit.
Hey, anytime you want to come talk your shit, come talk it.
I was keeping kind of mid-grade,
Hey, listen, if you go watch some of my, because sometimes I have family members on here too. So like my cousins, it gets a little loose, man. But it's like, but that's the kind of vibe I want because that's what people want to see. I want people to feel like they're in the room with us. So real conversation, man, and that's why I bring on certain people, man. And you always been a good vibe. Like I said, man, I appreciate you reaching out from, that day one, man. And it's been dope, man. Well, I know we on the way to do big things.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, this was a whole lot of fun and it got away quickly.
It goes by fast. It goes by fast, man. But this is an easy way to get content done, man. But hey, anytime you want to come mess with me, come holler at your boy, man.
What's up? Will do. I'm gonna take the bow tie off the next time I come.
Oh yeah, come chill, real chillax, man.
Yeah, that's what we gonna do.
All right, man. Well, I'll let you go, man. I know you're busy, man. But I'll holler at you. When our next call? Next Saturday? We on?
Yeah. Second and the fourth. Yep.
All right, bet, man. Well, hey, brother. Appreciate you. I love you, man. Real talk.
You too, brother. Appreciate you. See you prosper.
Hey, I'm trying, man.
One of my mantra is love you, bless you, see you prosper. So, hey, right back at you.
All right, bro, man. You take it easy, man.
You too, man.
All right.